Human Maid carried the injured alien emperor to safety, unaware the whole galaxy was watching live. Before we dive into this story, drop a quick hi in the comments and tell me where you're watching from. It really helps support the channel. The royal palace of Zaldrix Prime stood as a monument to the grandeur of the Galactic Confederacy. Within its crystalline halls, Lauren Bennett scrubbed the already gleaming floors, her human hands moving with practiced efficiency as she completed her daily tasks as the newest and only human service worker in the imperial household. The emergency alarms blared without warning. Lauren froze, her heart hammering against her chest as the palace's pristine white lighting shifted to a pulsing crimson. The evacuation protocol had been drilled into every palace worker repeatedly, yet in the chaos that erupted around her, she found herself momentarily paralyzed by the suddenness of it all. Alien staff rushed past her, their varied physiologies creating a kaleidoscope of movement, tentacles, wings, and multiple limbs all propelling their owners toward the designated safety zones. Through the commotion, Lauren caught fragments of panicked conversation. Separatist attack. Breached the inner security ring. Emperor Zalthar. Lauren shook herself from her stupor. As the newest addition to the palace staff, she had never expected to face an actual emergency. Humans had only recently been permitted to work within the Zaldrix royal household, a gesture of goodwill following Earth's conditional acceptance into the Galactic Confederacy 3 years prior. Most humans found themselves in manual labor positions throughout the Confederacy worlds, their physical capabilities surprisingly useful despite their technological inferiority. Lauren moved against the flow of fleeing palace workers, her instincts driving her toward the source of the commotion rather than away from it. The royal wing lay just beyond the corridor she had been cleaning, a restricted area she had never entered. Yet something pulled her forward, a distinctly human impulse she couldn't explain. The acrid smell of ozone and smoke grew stronger as she approached the royal chambers. The security drones that typically hovered at every entrance lay scattered across the floor, their circuitry fried by what appeared to be precision electromagnetic weapons. "Hello," Lauren called out, her voice small in the cavernous corridor. "Is anyone still here?" "The evacuation order." A pained groan answered her, emanating from the partially open doors to the Emperor's private study. Lauren hesitated for only a moment before pushing through. The study had been ravaged. Artifacts from 1,000 worlds lay shattered across the floor. The broad view screen that typically displayed the majesty of Zaldrix Prime's 3 moons now flickered with static. And there, amidst the destruction, lay the crumpled form of Emperor Zalthar, supreme ruler of the Galactic Confederacy. The Emperor's exoskeleton, normally a vibrant blue that shifted with his emotions, had dulled to a sickly gray. One of his 4 arms hung at an unnatural angle, and a viscous purple fluid, royal blood, pooled beneath him. Lauren's training abandoned her entirely. This was the Emperor, a being so exalted that most citizens of the Confederacy would never see him in person throughout their entire lives. She had glimpsed him only once, from a distance during her orientation, his regal form surrounded by advisors and guards. Yet now he lay wounded and alone, abandoned by his protectors. "Your Eminence," Lauren whispered, approaching cautiously. Can you hear me?" Emperor Zalthar's compound eyes flickered, focusing on her with visible effort. "Human," he rasped, his translator implant rendering his clicking speech into something Lauren could understand. "You must flee. They will return to finish what they started." "I'm not leaving you here," Lauren replied, surprising herself with her own boldness. "The evacuation protocols. Everyone's heading to the shelter bunkers. We need to get you there too. My royal guard betrayed me," Zalthar managed, his voice weakening. "Separatist sympathizers. The attack, coordinated from within." Lauren's mind raced. If the Emperor's own guards had turned against him, nowhere in the palace would be truly safe. The standard evacuation points would be the first places the traitors would look. "Then we won't go to the standard shelters," Lauren decided. "I know a place, the service tunnels. They run beneath the entire palace complex. The maintenance staff uses them, but they're not on any official schematics. I discovered them during my cleaning rotations." The Emperor attempted to rise, but collapsed back with a chittering sound that Lauren's translator didn't catch, some expression of pain that transcended language barriers. "I cannot walk," he admitted, and Lauren sensed the immense cost to his pride in making such an acknowledgement. Lauren surveyed the Emperor's form. Though his exoskeleton made him appear massive, she knew from her xenobiology briefing that Zaldrixians were surprisingly light due to their hollow bone structure, an evolutionary adaptation to their home world's low gravity. Still, he would be awkward to carry with his 4 arms and elongated thorax. "With all due respect, Your Eminence, I'm going to have to carry you." Before the Emperor could protest, Lauren moved closer. "Please forgive my presumption," she said, then carefully positioned herself to lift him. She slid one arm under what approximated his shoulders and the other beneath his lower limbs. With a deep breath and a surge of adrenaline, Lauren lifted the Emperor of the Galactic Confederacy into her arms. He was lighter than she expected, perhaps the weight of a human child, but the awkward distribution of his limbs made balance challenging. "Direct me," the Emperor commanded, his voice stronger now despite his injuries. "Your knowledge of these service tunnels may be our salvation." Lauren nodded, turning toward the study's rear entrance. She moved as swiftly as she dared, conscious of the precious cargo in her arms. The Emperor's blood stained her uniform, but she paid it no mind. What neither Lauren nor the Emperor realized was that the palace security systems remained partially operational. The internal monitoring feeds, designed to capture the Emperor's every public proclamation, continued broadcasting. Throughout the palace, throughout the capital city, throughout the entire Confederacy spanning 17,000 worlds, trillions of beings were witnessing the unprecedented sight of a human Maid carrying their wounded Emperor to safety. Lauren navigated the corridors with determination, avoiding the main evacuation routes. Each intersection required careful consideration. Who could be trusted? The Emperor's revelation about the betrayal within his own guard made every encounter potentially deadly. "Left here," Lauren whispered, more to herself than to her imperial burden. "There's a service elevator that the cleaning staff uses. It connects directly to the maintenance tunnels." As they approached the elevator, the sound of boots striking against the palace's crystalline floor echoed from a connecting corridor. Lauren pressed herself against the wall, holding her breath as a squadron of royal guards rushed past the intersection ahead. "Traitors," the Emperor hissed weakly. "They bear the mark of the separatist faction, the red insignia on their collar." Lauren waited until the sound of the guards faded before continuing toward the service elevator. The small transport capsule, designed for moving cleaning supplies rather than people, would be a tight fit for both of them. "This isn't exactly designed for Imperial transport," Lauren apologized as she maneuvered the Emperor into the cramped space. "Necessity transcends protocol," the Emperor replied, his compound eyes swiveling to observe their surroundings. "Your quick thinking is unexpected. The Confederacy's assessment of human capabilities may require revision." Lauren tapped a sequence into the elevator's control panel. Bypassing the standard security protocols with a maintenance override she'd learned from a friendly Arcturian custodian. The elevator hummed to life, descending rapidly into the depths beneath the palace. Throughout the Galactic Confederacy, the live feed continued. News networks interrupted their regular broadcasts to show the human Maid carrying the Emperor. Commentary ranged from shocked to incredulous to admiring. On thousands of worlds, beings who had previously considered humans little more than an amusing curiosity found themselves transfixed by Lauren's determined expression as she navigated through danger. The elevator reached the maintenance level with a soft chime. Lauren peered cautiously into the dimly lit tunnel before stepping out with the Emperor still cradled in her arms. The service tunnels stretched in all directions, a labyrinth of pipes, conduits, and narrow walkways. "We should be safe here, at least temporarily," Lauren said, carefully lowering the Emperor onto a maintenance bench. "These tunnels aren't monitored. They're not considered important enough. An oversight that may save the Confederacy," the Emperor noted. His exoskeleton had begun to regain some of its color, shifting from gray to a pale blue. "I require medical attention, but I cannot risk communication through standard channels. The rebellion appears more extensive than I had believed possible." Lauren nodded, assessing their situation. The Emperor needed help, but she couldn't leave him alone, and she had no way to contact anyone she could trust. As she contemplated their next move, a distant sound echoed through the tunnels, the faint but unmistakable rhythm of approaching footsteps. "Someone's coming," she whispered, instinctively positioning herself between the Emperor and the potential threat. "You would shield me with your own body?" The Emperor's voice held a note of genuine surprise. Fascinating. Lauren didn't have time to explain human protective instincts. Her eyes darted around the tunnel, seeking any advantage or weapon. A maintenance wrench lay on a nearby tool rack. She grabbed it, holding it with determination if not skill. The footsteps grew closer. Lauren tensed, preparing to defend the Emperor as best she could. A figure rounded the corner, not the expected squad of traitorous guards, but a single maintenance worker. The Forian's elongated face registered shock at the tableau before him. A human maid standing protectively before the wounded Emperor of the Galactic Confederacy, brandishing a wrench. "Your Eminence." The Forian dropped immediately to a prostration posture, his three eyes blinking in rapid succession, a sign of extreme deference in his species. "We thought you lost in the attack." "Rise," the Emperor commanded. "Identify yourself." "Maintenance Technician Vril, Imperial Palace Infrastructure Division," the Forian said, slowly returning to a standing position. "I remained at my post when the alarms sounded, as per emergency protocols for essential systems personnel." Lauren maintained her defensive stance, the wrench still raised. "How do we know we can trust him?" she asked the Emperor in a low voice. "A prudent question," the Emperor acknowledged. He turned his compound eyes toward the technician. "Vril, display your security clearance and faction alignment." The Forian technician promptly activated his identification badge. A holographic display projected from it, showing not only his credentials, but also his loyalty record, complete with psychological assessment markers that indicated a 98.7% probability of continued loyalty to the throne. "He appears trustworthy," the Emperor decided after reviewing the display. "Technician Vril, this human has saved my life at great personal risk. She requires your assistance to ensure my continued safety and recovery." The Forian's eyes widened further as he took in the full situation. "Of course, Your Eminence. The maintenance tunnels connect to the emergency medical facility in the Eastern Quadrant. It operates on an independent power grid and security system. If the rebellion has not spread to the medical personnel, it would be the safest place for treatment." "And if the rebellion has spread there?" Lauren asked, finally lowering the wrench. "Then we shall know as soon as we attempt to enter," Vril answered grimly. "But the alternative is to leave His Eminence untreated, which would be equally dangerous." The Emperor shifted on the bench, his injured arm still hanging limply. "The human's assessment is correct. We cannot trust the standard protocols or facilities. However, necessity compels us toward risk. Lead us to this medical facility, but approach with caution." Lauren moved to lift the Emperor again, but he raised a functional hand to stop her. "Wait. I have not even asked your designation, human, though you have done more for me than those sworn to my service." "Lauren Bennett, Your Eminence. Palace Maintenance Section 12. "Lauren Bennett," the Emperor repeated, the alien syllables sounding strange through his translator. "The Confederacy shall remember your loyalty this day." Across the galaxy, billions continued to watch as Lauren once again lifted the Emperor into her arms. The feed had followed them somehow, likely through the Emperor's own biomonitor, which constantly transmitted his vital signs and surroundings to the Imperial Medical Database. The unprecedented event had captured the attention of every citizen, from the core worlds to the most distant outposts. On Earth, the human diplomatic contingent watched in stunned silence as one of their own cradled the most powerful being in the galaxy. Analysts scrambled to assess the potential repercussions. Would this improve humanity's standing or place their newest member world in danger from the apparent separatist faction? Lauren followed Technician Vril through the winding maintenance tunnels, her arms beginning to ache from the Emperor's weight despite his relatively light frame. The Forian moved with the confidence of one who had spent decades navigating these passages, occasionally stopping to verify their path on a small holographic map projected from his technical scanner. "We approached the medical facility," Vril announced after nearly 20 minutes of careful progress. "The final access point lies just ahead, but we must cross a section of the main corridor to reach the emergency entrance. Lauren nodded, adjusting her grip on the Emperor. His breathing had grown more labored during their journey, and the purple blood from his injuries had begun to dry on her uniform, creating a stiff, uncomfortable crust. "Is there any way to determine if the medical staff remains loyal?" she asked. Vril hesitated, his elongated fingers tapping nervously against his technical scanner. "The facility operates on a separate communication network. I can attempt to access their security feed, but doing so risks alerting anyone monitoring the systems to our presence." "Do it," the Emperor commanded. "Better to know what awaits us than to stumble blindly into an ambush." The technician nodded and began interfacing with his scanner. After a tense minute of silent operation, a small holographic image flickered to life above the device. The feed showed the emergency medical facility's main treatment area. Several medical staff moved about their duties, seemingly unaware of the chaos that had engulfed the palace above. "They appear to be functioning normally," Vril observed. "There is no sign of separatist markings or unusual activity." "That means little," the Emperor cautioned. "The betrayal from my own guard came without warning." Lauren studied the feed, noting the positions of the various medical personnel. "Is there a less trafficked entrance? Somewhere we could enter and assess the situation before fully committing?" Vril nodded, impressed by the human's tactical thinking. "Yes, the emergency supplies entrance. It would allow us to observe before being observed." "Then that's our path," Lauren decided, looking to the Emperor for confirmation. "Proceed." The Emperor agreed, his compound eyes reflecting the dim light of the maintenance tunnel. They continued their careful journey, with Vril leading them toward the supply entrance. As they approached the point where they would need to cross the main corridor, Lauren's steps slowed. "Wait," she whispered. "Listen." The distant sound of armored footsteps echoed through the passage ahead. A patrol was approaching, whether loyal or traitorous remained to be seen. "Back," Lauren hissed, retreating into a narrow service alcove. The space barely accommodated the three of them, with Lauren still holding the Emperor and Vril pressed uncomfortably against a tangle of pipes. A squad of royal guards marched past their hiding place, their boots striking the floor in perfect synchronization. Each wore the traditional armor of the Imperial protectors, but with the addition of a red insignia on their collars, the mark of the separatists that the Emperor had identified earlier. "They search for us," the Emperor whispered once the patrol had passed. "My absence has been noted. We need to move quickly," Lauren urged. "The longer we delay, the more thoroughly they'll search." They emerged from their hiding place and hurried toward the medical facility, crossing the main corridor in a brief, terrifying moment of exposure before ducking into the service passage that Vril indicated led to the supply entrance. Throughout the galaxy, viewers held their breath collectively as Lauren carried the Emperor across the dangerous open space. The feed, still broadcasting from the Emperor's biomonitor, showed her determined face from below, her jaw set with resolution as she balanced speed against the need to keep her precious cargo stable. On thousands of worlds, beings who had previously regarded humans as primitive curiosities found themselves reconsidering. Here was strength, yes, the physical capability to carry another being for an extended period, but also courage, loyalty, and quick thinking that transcended technological advancement. They reached the supply entrance without further incident. Vril accessed the security panel, overriding the standard protocols with his maintenance credentials. The door slid open silently, revealing a storage area filled with neatly organized medical supplies. Lauren carried the Emperor inside, and Vril secured the door behind them. The comparative brightness of the medical facility after the dim maintenance tunnels made Lauren blink as her eyes adjusted. "We must verify the loyalty of the medical staff before revealing His Eminence's presence," Vril whispered. "I will scout ahead." "Be careful," Lauren cautioned. "And if you don't return within 5 minutes, we'll assume the worst." The Forian nodded grimly and slipped through the inner door, leaving Lauren alone with the Emperor in the supply room. She carefully lowered him onto a flat surface, a packing crate for medical equipment, and stepped back to assess his condition. The Emperor's exoskeleton had regained more color, shifting toward a deeper blue, but his injured arm still hung uselessly, and his breathing remained labored. You have shown remarkable resourcefulness, Lauren Bennett, the Emperor said, his voice stronger than it had been when she first found him. Few of my own subjects would have acted with such decisive courage. I just did what anyone would do, Lauren replied, embarrassed by the praise. I couldn't leave you there. But many did, the Emperor pointed out. My royal guard, my advisors, those sworn to protect me fled or betrayed me. Yet you, who owed me no such loyalty, risked yourself to ensure my safety. Lauren shrugged, uncomfortable with the implied heroism. Humans stick together in a crisis. We help each other. I guess I just applied that principle to you too. A simplistic explanation for a profound action, the Emperor observed. His compound eyes studied her with obvious fascination. Perhaps this is why your species has survived despite your technological limitations. This instinct to protect others regardless of obligation. Before Lauren could respond, the inner door slid open, revealing Vril alongside a tall, spindly being with pale green skin, clearly a medical professional of some kind. The medical officer immediately prostrated himself upon seeing the Emperor. Your Eminence, we had received reports of your possible demise. The honor of treating you. Rise, doctor, and speak plainly, the Emperor commanded. Is your facility secure? Can you be certain of your staff's loyalty? The doctor rose, his long fingers twisting nervously. The medical division operates under a separate chain of command, Your Eminence. We have sealed the facility upon news of the attack and admitted no one. I can personally vouch for each member of my current staff. They have served the throne for decades without blemish. The Emperor's compound eyes shifted, taking in the doctor's body language and tone. After a moment, he nodded. Proceed with treatment, then. My injuries require attention if I am to address this rebellion effectively. The doctor bowed again and hurried to prepare a hover gurney. Lauren stepped forward once more, preparing to lift the Emperor. Allow me to assist, the doctor began, but the Emperor raised a hand to stop him. The human will transfer me, he stated firmly. She has carried me this far. Let her complete this journey. Lauren carefully lifted the Emperor again and placed him gently on the hover gurney. As she stepped back, she suddenly became aware of her appearance. Her uniform stained with imperial blood, her hair escaping its neat bun, her hands trembling slightly from the extended physical effort. You require rest and attention yourself, the Emperor noted, observing her condition. Doctor, see that Lauren Bennett receives care as well. Of course, Your Eminence, the doctor agreed, looking at Lauren with new interest. If you'll follow us to the treatment area. The hover gurney glided smoothly through the inner door into the main medical facility. As they entered, the medical staff paused in their activities, turning to stare at the remarkable procession. The Emperor of the Galactic Confederacy, wounded but alive, accompanied by a disheveled human in a blood-stained palace service uniform. Lauren felt self-conscious under their collective gaze, but kept her focus on the Emperor, watching for any sign that his condition might worsen. The doctor directed them to a central treatment pod, its advanced medical equipment already humming to life in preparation for its imperial patient. As the medical team began their work, Lauren finally allowed herself to relax slightly. She found a seat in a corner of the treatment area, unwilling to move too far from the Emperor despite her exhaustion. A junior medical officer approached her with a small device that emitted a soft blue light. For your hands, the officer explained. The Emperor's blood contains compounds that can be irritating to some species' skin. This will neutralize any potential reaction. Lauren nodded gratefully, holding out her stained hands for treatment. As the blue light passed over her skin, removing the crusted imperial blood, she glanced toward the treatment pod where the Emperor lay surrounded by medical staff. Will he recover fully? She asked the medical officer. His Eminence's species possesses remarkable regenerative capabilities, the officer assured her. The damage to his exoskeleton and the underlying tissue will heal completely with proper treatment. Your timely intervention likely prevented much worse outcomes. Lauren nodded, relieved. She had acted on instinct, without considering the potential consequences, personal or political, of her actions. Now, as the adrenaline began to fade, the enormity of the situation started to dawn on her. What happens now? She wondered aloud. With the rebellion, I mean. The medical officer looked uncomfortable. That is beyond my knowledge or authority to discuss. But he lowered his voice, glancing around before continuing. Word has reached us that your actions have been witnessed throughout the Confederacy. The Emperor's biomonitor broadcast everything. Lauren's eyes widened in shock. Broadcast? You mean? People saw what happened? Not just some people, the officer clarified. Everyone. Every world in the Confederacy received the feed. It's standard protocol for the Emperor's security system, meant to ensure that any attack on his person would be documented. But in this case, it showed you, carrying him to safety. Lauren felt the blood drain from her face. Everyone saw? The whole Confederacy. The officer nodded. You've become quite famous in the span of a few hours, Lauren Bennett. Before Lauren could process this revelation, a commotion at the medical facility's main entrance drew their attention. A squad of soldiers entered, these bearing the traditional imperial insignia without the red separatist markings. Loyal forces, the medical officer explained, seeing Lauren's alarm. The rebellion appears to be losing momentum. Reports indicate that many of the separatists surrendered when they saw the Emperor survive. Your actions may have broken their resolve. The commander of the loyal forces approached the treatment pod, conferring briefly with the doctor before turning his attention to Lauren. He marched directly to where she sat, his posture rigid with formality. Lauren Bennett, he announced, his translator rendering his words with crisp precision. By direct order of His Imperial Eminence, you are to be escorted to the secure communications chamber. The Emperor wishes to address the Confederacy, and you are to stand at his side. Lauren blinked in confusion. Me? But I'm just a maintenance worker. Surely one of the royal advisors or diplomatic staff. The Emperor was most specific. The commander interrupted. He wishes the Confederacy to see the human who carried him to safety when others fled. Your presence is not requested. It is commanded. Still processing the implications, Lauren followed the commander to a different section of the medical facility. The secure communications chamber turned out to be a small room dominated by advanced broadcasting equipment. The Emperor had already been moved there, his injuries treated and partially healed. He reclined in a modified throne that supported his still recovering body. Lauren Bennett, the Emperor acknowledged as she entered. Approach. Lauren moved forward uncertainly, acutely aware of her disheveled appearance in the presence of such imperial formality. The Emperor gestured to a position beside his throne. Here, he indicated. Stand where the Confederacy may see you clearly. Your Eminence, Lauren began hesitantly. I'm not sure I understand what's happening. I was told that everyone saw what I did. Indeed, the Emperor confirmed. My security protocols ensured that my plight, and your response, was witnessed by every world under my rule. What began as a safety measure has become something much more significant. The rebellion falters because of what they saw. Because of me? Lauren asked incredulously. Because of what you represent, the Emperor clarified. A member of the newest, least technologically advanced species in the Confederacy, displaying courage and loyalty that shamed those born to my service. It has shifted perceptions, including my own. Before Lauren could respond, the communications officer signaled that they were ready to broadcast. The Emperor straightened as much as his injuries allowed, his exoskeleton shifting to a vibrant royal blue, a display of strength and authority despite his condition. Citizens of the Galactic Confederacy, the Emperor began, his voice carried instantly to trillions of beings across 17,000 worlds. Today, elements of my personal guard attempted a coup, seeking to overthrow the imperial throne and fracture our united worlds. Their treachery nearly succeeded. The Emperor paused, his compound eyes shifting briefly toward Lauren before continuing. Yet their plot was foiled not by advanced security systems or loyal military forces, but by the actions of a single human, a species many have regarded as primitive, their world only recently welcomed into our galactic community. The camera focus widened to include Lauren standing beside the throne. She fought the urge to shrink from the attention, instead straightening her posture as her mother had taught her, shoulders back, chin up, facing challenges directly. Lauren Bennett, a palace maintenance worker, found me wounded and abandoned. Without hesitation, she carried me to safety through hostile territory, risking her life to preserve mine and, by extension, the stability of our confederacy. She demonstrated loyalty and courage that many born to my service failed to show. The Emperor shifted, wincing slightly as he adjusted his position. Let this serve as a lesson to all who would judge capability based solely on technological advancement or evolutionary history. The human trait of protecting others, even at personal cost, is a quality our confederacy would do well to nurture and honor. Lauren stood perfectly still, her face composed despite the tumult of emotions within. This was far beyond anything she could have imagined when she applied for the palace maintenance position, a job that many of her friends had considered menial and beneath her potential. In recognition of Lauren Bennett's service to the throne, I hereby establish a new position within the imperial household, human liaison to the imperial court. Lauren Bennett shall be the first to hold this office, advising the throne on human perspectives and capabilities. Lauren's composure nearly broke at this announcement. A direct advisory position to the Emperor himself was unprecedented for any human, let alone someone of her previously humble station. Furthermore, the Emperor continued, Earth's probationary status within the Confederacy is hereby upgraded to full membership, with all associated rights and privileges. The human capacity for loyalty and protective action, even toward those not of their kind, represents a valuable addition to our collective strength. The broadcast continued for several more minutes, with the Emperor addressing the specifics of the rebellion and the response from loyal forces. Throughout, Lauren maintained her position beside the throne, still processing the extraordinary turn her life had taken. When the broadcast finally ended, Lauren exhaled slowly, releasing tension she hadn't realized she'd been holding. "Your Eminence," she said quietly, "I don't know what to say. The position you've offered, it's an incredible honor, but I'm not qualified. I'm not a diplomat or a politician." "Which is precisely why you are ideal," the Emperor replied. "The Confederacy has enough politicians and diplomats. What it lacks is individuals who act from principle rather than calculation. You saw someone in need and responded without thought of advantage or consequence. Such instinctive ethics cannot be taught or programmed." Lauren considered his words. Her action, carrying the injured Emperor to safety, had seemed so natural, so obvious at the time. Yet apparently it had resonated throughout an entire galaxy as something extraordinary. "If you truly believe I can be useful in such a role," Lauren said finally, "then I accept, Your Eminence. Though I may need some guidance in the finer points of Imperial protocol." "That can be arranged," the Emperor assured her. "More importantly, you must understand what your actions have accomplished beyond my personal survival. For decades, many within the Confederacy have viewed humans as barely worth the effort of inclusion, a species still struggling with internal conflicts and limited technology. Yet today, a human demonstrated the very qualities the Confederacy was founded to promote: unity, loyalty, mutual protection." The Emperor's compound eyes shifted, displaying patterns that Lauren couldn't interpret. "You have changed how trillions of beings perceive your species. That may prove more significant than any technological advancement Earth could have achieved." In the weeks that followed, Lauren adapted to her new role with the same practical determination that had characterized her response to the crisis. The Imperial Palace, once an intimidating maze of protocol and hierarchy, became her workplace in a much different capacity than she had initially expected. The would-be coup had been thoroughly suppressed, with many of the conspirators surrendering voluntarily after witnessing the Emperor's survival and Lauren's actions. Those who continued to resist found themselves facing not only loyal Imperial forces, but also a significantly shifted public opinion. The image of a human Maid carrying the wounded Emperor to safety had become a powerful symbol throughout the Confederacy, a reminder that true loyalty transcended species, status, and technological advancement. Lauren's days now involved advising the Emperor on human customs and perspectives, acting as a liaison for the growing number of humans working throughout Confederate space, and occasionally serving as a diplomatic representative at Imperial functions. Her practical, straightforward approach to problems often provided a refreshing counterpoint to the Byzantine politics of the imperial court. On this particular day, Lauren stood beside the Emperor in the grand reception hall as delegates from dozens of worlds presented their credentials. The formal ceremony required her to maintain perfect composure for hours, a skill she had rapidly developed over her weeks in the new position. The delegation from Arcturus IV, Your Eminence, announced the Imperial Chamberlain. The Arcturian representatives approached the throne, their crystalline bodies refracting light in complex patterns that constituted a formal greeting in their species' communication system. Lauren recognized the lead delegate as a prominent critic of Earth's inclusion in the Confederacy, one who had frequently cited humanity's primitive emotional responses as evidence of their unsuitability. Imperial greetings, delegates of Arcturus, the Emperor acknowledged. Your presence honors the throne. The lead Arcturian performed the traditional obeisance before speaking. Your Eminence, we bring tidings from our world and request guidance on a matter of some delicacy. Proceed, the Emperor permitted. Our manufacturing consortium has developed new defensive technologies that require extensive testing. Traditionally, such testing would occur on uninhabited moons or artificial constructs. However, in light of recent events, we wish to propose collaboration with human engineers and scientists from Earth. Lauren carefully controlled her expression, though surprise coursed through her. The Arcturians had previously refused all technological collaboration with Earth, citing security concerns and human unpredictability. The Arcturian delegate continued, the events of the attempted coup have revised our assessment of human capabilities. The combination of your emotional responsiveness and our technical precision may yield superior results to either approach alone. The Emperor's compound eyes shifted toward Lauren, inviting her response. The delegation honors Earth with this proposal, Lauren replied diplomatically. I believe our engineers would welcome such collaboration with enthusiasm. Human adaptability combined with Arcturian precision does indeed suggest promising outcomes. The Arcturian's crystalline form shimmered, a physical expression of agreement. Then we shall proceed with the formal proposal to the Earth government. We anticipate mutually beneficial developments. As the delegation withdrew and the next was announced, the Emperor spoke quietly to Lauren. You see, already your actions have opened doors previously closed to your species. The Arcturians do not change position easily. Their crystalline thinking patterns resist revision. Yet they have done so regarding humans. It's still surprising, Lauren admitted. A few weeks ago, they wouldn't consider humans for even the most basic technological exchange. A few weeks ago, the Confederacy had not witnessed the image of a human carrying their emperor to safety while those born to his service fled or betrayed him, the Emperor pointed out. Never underestimate the power of a single, genuine action witnessed by many. The reception continued for several more hours. When it finally concluded, Lauren gratefully retired to her new quarters, a spacious suite within the imperial residence that still felt excessive compared to her previous accommodations in the staff dormitory. As she prepared for rest, her communication console chimed with an incoming transmission from Earth. The screen activated to show the familiar face of the human diplomatic attaché. Liaison Bennett, the attaché, greeted her formally, though his expression held barely contained excitement. I've just received word from the Confederacy Central Archives. They've requested permission to include your image, carrying the Emperor during the coup attempt, in the official historical record of the Confederacy. It's to be listed as a defining moment in Confederate evolution. No human has ever been included in the archives before. Lauren sat down, momentarily overwhelmed. The Central Archives documented only the most significant events in the Confederacy's 10,000-year history. Inclusion was an honor typically reserved for emperors, revolutionary scientists, or pivotal military leaders. That's quite something, she managed finally. Though it still feels strange to be recognized for what seemed like such an obvious choice in the moment. That's exactly why it resonated so deeply, the attaché explained. Throughout Confederate space, beings are discussing what they call the human response, acting instinctively to protect others without calculated self-interest. It sparked philosophical debates on dozens of worlds about the evolutionary advantages of altruism and whether advanced technology might actually diminish certain valuable instinctual responses. Lauren shook her head, still struggling to reconcile her simple action with its far-reaching consequences. I just did what needed doing. I didn't think about making history. And that's precisely why you did, the attaché replied with a smile. Earth's position in the Confederacy has advanced more in the weeks since your action than in the 3 years of careful diplomacy preceding it. Sometimes the most powerful statements are made without words. After the transmission ended, Lauren stood at the viewport of her quarters, gazing out at the 3 moons of Zaldrix Prime. Somewhere out there, across the vastness of space, was Earth, a world that now stood on more equal footing with the ancient members of the Confederacy, because one human maid had carried an injured alien emperor to safety, unaware that the whole galaxy was watching. She smiled at the thought. Perhaps humanity's so-called limitations, their emotional responses, their protective instincts, their tendency to act before calculating all possible outcomes, weren't limitations at all, but strengths that the Confederacy had forgotten it needed. Emperor Zalthar had told her, during one of their daily advisory sessions, that the Confederacy had grown too dependent on protocols, hierarchies, and technological solutions. Perhaps, he had mused, the addition of humanity to our ranks came at precisely the moment we required reminder of certain fundamental truths that transcend advancement. Lauren turned from the viewport, preparing to rest before another day of her unexpected new role. As she did, her gaze fell upon her old maintenance uniform, cleaned of Imperial blood but preserved at the Emperor's request as a reminder of that pivotal day. The simple garment now represented something profound, a bridge between worlds, a symbol of humanity's unique contribution to a galaxy that had initially dismissed them as primitive but was now beginning to recognize that advancement came in many forms, not all of them technological. Throughout the Confederacy, the image of a human maid carrying their wounded emperor continued to circulate, a reminder that sometimes the most significant power came not from advanced weapons or complex political maneuverings, but from the simple, instinctive choice to protect those in need, regardless of the risk, regardless of the differences between species, regardless of one's place in the grand hierarchies of the galaxy. It was, perhaps, the most human power of all. And now, an entire galaxy was learning its value. And that was the end of the story. If you listened all the way to here, don't forget to leave feedback about what you thought of the story in the comments, whether positive or negative. Your feedback helps us improve. Also, leave your like and subscribe to the channel for more stories like this one. And I'll leave here on the screen another video that I'm sure you'll like. Big hug, and see you in the next story.